Ilan ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಓಕೆ.
So next presentation is by Dr. M.U. Sharif.
Good morning, everybody. At the outset, I express my great privilege and gratitude to Department of Botany and ATDS for giving me an opportunity to present before you the work that I have just accumulated from my decades, 2.5 decades experience in botanical survey of India. Apart from that, I am doubly privileged to present my work before two of my directors. One is Dr. M. Sanjapa, in whose tenure I joined Botanical Survey of India as scientist C, and another is Dr. R.R. Rao, who was the earlier director of Botanical Survey of India. Friends, today I will be speaking on the topic conservation of biodiversity, ABS perspective. Of course, Dr. R.R. Rao's and Dr. Sanjapa Sar's lectures has benefited a lot to my, added a lot of information to my presentation. I will cut short all this information and I will show you the chemistry of biodiversity in conservation involved at the ground level as well as at the tribal level. Friends, biodiversity, as you have already understood, how vast it is, and it is an umbrella term which encompasses all the living entities which are categorized with themselves. It has become a very sovereign property of any nation under consideration. So in this slide, I have just highlighted some of the, of course, the blue Vanda, what Dr. Arora sir has told is here. That also we have conserved. I will be showing some of the conservation aspects, and even the economy also we are trying to get, as Professor Arora has told. Here I have just shown some of the photographs. One is JJC Post Indian Botanic Garden, a center for a active center for conservation of many of the RET plants, and then this is the Ross Island, which is the first final settlement of Britishers at Andaman Nicobar Island. A Jarva tribe, a Jarva man carrying out some of the the wild pig hunted. And here is the Glimia Andamanica petals decoration by Jarva tribe and a traditional dance from. And this is Victoria Amazonica, a very rare plant. Britishers has been introduced in 17th century in the English Most Indian botanist and Cerulean. And the basic work what we are carrying out with regard to this children, to nurture the children to understand the concept of biodiversity conservation and develop the values with regard to the conservation of biodiversity. And this is the Dendrobium nobile, the state flower of Sikkim Gangtok. Before going to the topic conservation of biodiversity, I wanted to highlight a very important mission which has been proposed by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. It is nothing but Mission Life, to nudge the people to change their habit from the harming waste to healing waste. This is a global campaign which Modi ji has proposed to develop awareness with regard to the natural resources which are existing in our country. Friends, we know biodiversity is sovereign property. Conservation has become a necessity rather than a fashion today. Earlier, biodiversity was considered as a fashion in many of the gardens, in many of the places. But now, conservation has become a necessity. How it has become a necessity, and what are the methods which are followed for conservation of this biodiversity at the ground level, that I will be showing some of them. So here, this Vision Life has been standing on two important aspects. One is the 3 R's: reuse, recycle, and reduce. And the second one is, it is 3 P's also, it is studying style of the planet, by the planet, and for the planet. So about 7 categories has been named. One is save energy, save water, and healthy lifestyle. and reduce the single-use plastic, and apart from the reduce e-waste, and all these things are some of the categories which has been proposed. Of course, our honorable Prime Minister here also knows that how important the natural resources and how to protect these natural resources is very important. Not only our present Prime Minister, our earlier, our father of our nation also has proposed, Earth provides, has given hint to the people conserve the natural elements. Our father of our nation has already told, Earth provides, Earth provides enough to satisfy one's need, but not one's greed. So this is the way how we have to just use our natural resources. Apart from that, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan also has told, if conservation of natural resources goes wrong, nothing else will go right. It has been told by Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, the famous scientist of our country. Then even Shakespeare also has told, you'll be taking away my life if you take away the means upon which I live. Like that it has told. Apart from that, Amrita Devi, religious leader, it is worth to save a tree even at the cost of one's head, like that Amrita Devi has told. So all these things suggest that you should use there should be a sustainable utilization of resources which are existing in our country, and it will go a long way if you make the sustainable utilization of these resources. So many activities has been conducted by central government departments. I wanted to highlight, but the paucity of time is there, I cannot. So completely from last 5 to 6 months, complete government of India, Minister of Environment and Forest itself was trying to tell all the departments to convey the message to the common public. And we ourselves, all the scientists were going every day outside in and around of Coimbatore. Since I was involved with Regional Center Coimbatore, we are completely going out, give this cotton bags, and even to highlight the people the importance and collection of and cleaning of some of the surrounding water lakes, all those things for the activities carried. But I will not show some of these details. Just to be aware that people should be nudged to change from their habits from the farming waste to healing waste. This completely mission life activity stands on a very important concept: my mother earth and my beauties. How I can save this mother earth? If nature is protected, it protects us. That is a simple concept we have to understand. So based on this importance of this natural resources which are present, Government of India has marked many of the important days. And the first day is International Biodiversity Day, which comes on 22nd May. And at that time also many of the activities are being conducted and people were sensitized to know the importance of these biodiversity elements. And apart from that, on 5th June, we will be having World Environment Day. World Environment Day is being World Environment Day, even World Environment Day will be conducted by making involving many of the universities, many of the schools, children, and they will be given many of the concepts, right? This will be given on the topics of biodiversity, and there will be many of the programs conducted. And apart from that, 1st to 7th July, the week is Vanamotsava week. At that time, planting of many of the trees is being conducted. Of course, in Mission Life also there is one topic that is called conservation of trees. Trees, you know very well how important trees are. So many slogans are there. Trees are the lungs of Mother Nature, and trees are carbon dioxide gone. And apart from that, trees are the poems written by Mother Earth on the sky. So like that, so many slogans are there to show the importance of these trees which are existing in our country, and we have to conserve those trees and we have to multiply them. Local trees has to be propagated. So all these things are programs which will be conducted during this Vanamotsava. And at that time, local trees were selected. Of course, we are carrying out this Vanamotsava program in Bharatiya University, Botanical Garden of Bharatiya University at Coimbatore. So, going further, we are having even wetlands. Now, wetlands, yesterday you have seen you have heard the presentation of Dr. Sanjay how important the wetlands are also. Many people, usually this contractors, they all completely have their eyes on these wetlands. They completely utilize it and completely destroy the important vegetation. And of course, Botanical Survey of India has completely documented the wetlands. I don't know. So wetlands are also very important. Documentation of wetlands of our country has completely done by Botanical Survey of India. Recently, last year, 2 volumes of this wetland vegetation has been released. So next comes 16th September, Ozone Day, very important. Ozone is so much there. If once the biodiversity is completely destroyed, the effect will be finally it will be there on ozone, and how important the protective level which is existing on this Mother Earth will be completely destroyed. You see, friends, here biodiversity, how much importance this biodiversity has, that much of threats also it is facing. That's why there are 3 positive mantras of biodiversity out there. One positive mantra is inventorization, documentation, and conservation of the positive mantras. And besides that, the contrary 3 mantras are working. that is urbanization, deforestation, and refrigeration or air conditioner. So refrigeration, if you are carrying out, completely eroding this ozone layer from our earth, and so much of effect it is causing on the human health. So that's why 16th September is the ozone day, and many of the programs again conducted to know the importance of this ozone day, which is a protective layer to preserve and conserve this important natural resource which are present. Next comes the International Mountain Day. First, 11th September, 11th December is the International Mountain Day. At that time also, we have to just think of trees which are growing in the mountains, and we have to just conserve. This shows the importance of these natural resources, how they have to be conducted, and what are the activities which are going on. So, since coming from the Prime Minister of India, just 2 points with regard to Botanical Survey of India, I wanted to just highlight. It is an organization coming under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, New Delhi, and it has got its headquarters at Calcutta with 11 regional centers spread all over the country. I don't want to just go deep into that one. Of course, here is the recently released volume 2 of Andaman Nicobar Island, and then this is the function in which Flora of India volume 28 is released by our this one research advisory committee, Dr. C.R. Babu, along with the director of BS and ZSI. So recently, 13th of February, this volume 28 has been released. Of course, in that function, nearly 11 volumes of Flora India were completely released. About the just establishment and history, Botanical Survey of India it was established on 13th February, and it was founded by Sir George King, the then superintendent of Royal Botanic Garden, Calcutta, appointed as first ex officio honorary director of the BSI. After the discovery of this Botanical Survey of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, the then Prime Minister of India, he suggested to completely, after independence, he suggested to completely strengthen many of the scientific departments. So he invited the Iron Lady of Indian Botany, Dr. E.K. Janaki-Ammal, to completely reorganize this Botanical Survey of India. She accepted this one, and completely, after independence, E.K. Janaki-Ammal was appointed as officer on special duty by Government of India in 1952 to revive the Botanical Survey of India. The organization aims at building the much desired inventory of the country's rich plant resources. The main aim was to carry out intensive exploration surveys to document the plant resources in the form of local districts and floras. And they were requiring one custodian, that's why it has been made. And of course, Botanical Survey of India is having 5 important objectives. The first objective is collection, identification, conservation, forestry diversity of our country. Then we are having publication of regional floras and data books. Then setting up of regional herbariums, botanic gardens, and museums to conserve and multiply rare and endangered plants and documentation of traditional or tribal or ethnographical knowledge, which is now presently known as cultural diversity, a very, very important subject which is coming up, especially with regard to this bioprospection and neurodevelopment. This is taking a great lead. And here, of course, as Professor Araroji told, this is Nepenthes khasiana. I'm happy to announce that the North Indian plant, which is native to Khasi Hills and Jayanta Hills, from last 40 years, this plant has been conserved in NOEG aircraft, National Aquarium Experimental Garden aircraft. The maturest of the mature plant, if anyone want to see in the South India, they can very well visit National Aquarium Experimental Garden. Of course, the vertical section of this Nepenthes khasiana, in which many of the during the night time, many of the insects have been trapped. The first one is American nobilis, the 10 most beautiful trees of the world. And this is also called tree of heaven. And then we are having Brownia coccinea, the Venezuelan rose, which Britishers has introduced inside both the fabaceous plant, which has been introduced in AJC Post Indian Botanic Garden. Of course, I told Botanical Survey of India is having a network of herbarium. Here we have shown the herbarium and their holdings in the herbarium. This is the Central National Herbarium Building, which is situated in AJC Post Indian Botanic Garden, found by William Boxborough. And these are some of the interior views of this herbarium. And but apart from that, botanical gardens are very, very important repositories for conservation of the plants, and we are having a network of botanic gardens. And the mother of all botanic gardens is AJC Post Indian Botanic Garden, which is extremely in the Howrah, Calcutta, and remaining regional. And one more botanic garden, which Government of India is now opened 10 years back. Of course, 10 to 12 years back, Botanical Garden of India Republic at Noida, which is now developing as a very, very important repository for many of the plants, and many of the foreign delegates who have visited New Delhi, they were being taken to Noida Botanical Garden to show the important elements of our country. And this is the view of this Noida Botanical Garden. And this is the National Arcadium at Airport, and this is the front view of AGC Boston Botanic Garden. Of course, botanical garden documentation continuously doing the documentation of the plants. Floras are being released. This is the flora of volume 28, which has released on 13th of February. And then we are having other red data books also is being released. We are having plant discovery, as yesterday Dr. Sindhavasar has told. Every year on 5th June, Ministry of Environment and Forest releases the plant discoveries in which all the discovered new plants are completely brought and documented and brought to the knowledge of scientific community which are working in our country as well as in the abroad. And apart from that, we are having an official journal called Neelambo, and that also publishes many of the scientific papers. Of course, this biodiversity, I have already told, biodiversity is an umbrella term which encompasses all the living entities. The three mantras I already told, three positive mantras are inventarization, then we are having documentation and conservation, and apart from contrary, I have already told. And now coming to this biodiversity has been conserved from long ages, and this has been given a very simple definition as the sum total of genes, species, and ecosystems in a given region by McManus and Morse in 1980. Now, biodiversity is emerging like a science rather than a subject. It is emerging as a science rather than a subject. Sometimes, if just I wanted to express, there are 14 definitions given to the biodiversity, among which 2 definitions which has been recommended by United General Assembly and another which IUCN has been taken into consideration. And this definition, which was given by McManus and Morse, the sum total of genes, species, and ecosystem in a region, has been accepted by us and proposed by IUCN. And beside this, what happens? So yesterday we have just seen 3 categories has been made: genetic, species, and ecosystem diversity, which are otherwise known as intercommunal diversity, as well as landscape diversity. These are some people categorize it alpha diversity, beta diversity, gamma diversity. These are the 4 important categories which are made earlier. But recently, it has been observed by almost all plant scientists and almost all environmental scientists, which has been observed that whatever diversity which is associated in any country, it has been conserved, it has been documented, it has been known to the people by the active involvement of the people, indigenous people or the tribal people or ethnic people. That's why Haywood in 1997, he has added one more category to this classification, and that is nothing but cultural diversity or the indigenous knowledge or the traditional knowledge. Of course, here are some of the photographs I have just shown. This is the mangrove vegetation of Diglipur and Middle Street of Diglipur. Of course, this and this is the megapod bird or the thermometer bird of Nicobar, also known as Nicobari fowl, and Dendrobium ephylla. Friends, biodiversity has become very important. It has become a necessity today. To have at least for the survivability of the humankind, biodiversity has become conservation of biodiversity has become very necessary. And today, biodiversity is completely concentrating on 3-4 important facets of the life, like cultural facet, social facet, economical facet, as well as environmental facet. And one best example is a biodiversity park, which is taken as a challenge by our Pro-Vice Chancellor, C.R. Babu, and he has developed a biodiversity park in Delhi, which is acting as the green doctor who restored Delhi's slums. Even before yesterday, also in Bangalore version paper has been there that the pollution of the country, pollution of the Delhi city is completely directly related to 2 second biodiversity 2 of that city. That's why conservation of biodiversity is very important. So this has become an international subject, and the government of India has completely recommending. You can well see the Union Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change has directed all the chief ministers to create biodiversity parks in each state capital and all districts headquarters, and in many states are completely following this. It has become a very important subject with regard to conservation of this biodiversity. Of course, coming to this conservation aspect, slowly I'm going one by one. And in the second part, I will be a little fast. If you first, the first half, if you understand properly, and then the second part, you will appreciate. Right. So generally, this biodiversity is considered by 2 important ways. One is in situ conservation and ex situ conservation. Of course, I will not concentrate in situ conservation. Today, with the paucity of time, I will be just concentrating. Generally, ex situ conservation is lifting the plant from its original habitat and conserving it by giving near natural conditions. Either it may be lab or in any garden anywhere, and it may be conserved. So here, 3 important aspects are there. One is tissue culture, the second one is botanical gardens, third is gene banks. This aspect I will little bit touch upon. paucity of time is there. You see, friends, biodiversity is a very vast wealth which is existing in our country. And here the aspects are also, the material also is big, the aspects are also big, and even the work also is big, and the results also will be big. So time also should be big. That I wanted to just concentrate on you people. So coming to this different methods of in-situ conservation, tissue culture, yes, of course, tissue culture is a very potential technique by which many of the rare plants can be multiplied. Here, many of the, I'm just showing the procedure, I will not go deep into this procedure. Of course, we have just multiplied some of the rare orchids in National Aquarium and Experimental Garden. There also tissue culture facilities there. And another is in Shillong, we are carrying out tissue culture of orchids as well as bamboo. Is a completely a very economically important crop as is under progress. Of course, in tissue culture of tissue culture plants, we are selling in National Aquarium for the common public which is coming. So one is Silobin nitida, completely standardized the procedure of this tissue culture. And apart from that, Bentica nicobanica, a native palm species of Western Ghats, have also been completely standardized from the tissue culture facility. Of course, to tell TBGRI, Trivandrum, they are also completely carrying out tissue culture of the panthas, and completely they are selling the plants to the common nurseries and common people. Here I will not go deep into the things because tissue culture, if you just take into consideration, there is voluminous information, different aspects are there. There is a clone propagation, there is somatic images, some of clone variations, DNA, genetic engineering, all these are completely related to tissue culture. Of course, once we just talk about tissue culture, we should not forget one name, Gottlieb Eberland, the father of tissue culture, 1902, who is referred to as unlucky scientist, who completely lost the credit before getting the credit. He just expired because only one mistake what he did. The initial selection for the culture, what he did is palisade tissue in his earlier experiment, which was completely loose tissue, and sophistication was not so good to, for when once he studied for the reculture, the sophistication at that time was not good. Of course, his work was rediscovered in 1932 by three scientists, Bartlett, Mobecort, and White, by independently working in the completely proved tissue culture. Now, more than 300 labs in our country itself is carrying out works on tissue culture, especially Evi Thomas Company, here and Speak India. They are all completely propagating many of the plants and selling the plants to the country. And of course, tissue culture bamboo also is completely standardized and completely work is completely under progress. And it's botanic gardens. Coming to the second category, the first one is tissue culture. In the executive culture, there are three important ways. One is by tissue culture, the second one is by botanic gardens, and the third one is by gene banks. So botanic gardens are very, very important places where active conservation of plant entities can be carried out. Very, very active, and these are the important places where the different comparative studies can be carried out and the potential data can be generated. These are the places from where the research material can be completely can be generated, and it may be supplied to the scientific research institutes which are completely working on some of the RT plants. These are the places where new young minds can be sensitized. Many of the programs related to environmental awareness programs can be conducted, and even these are the places from where economy can be generated by the form of recreation as well as in the form of propagation of the plants and selling of the plants. We are doing in 80% in Indian Botanic Garden, the recreation itself is getting 40 to 50 lakh rupees per annum. So this is going on. I will show you some of the slides. What is Botanic Garden? Botanic Gardens are institutions holding documented collections of living parts of the living plants for the purpose of scientific research, conservation, display, and education. Botanic gardens are the living repositories of plants of different geographical regions, and they assist in conservation of plants as well as making the world's plant species diversity known to the public. Botanic gardens are good locations to conduct scientific activities like conservation, propagation, taxonomy, seed science, that is biotechnology, education, restoration, ecology, and horticulture. Important botanic gardens. Here I am showing this is the second botanic garden because it is one of the world reputed garden. Of course, it is belonging to India. These are some of the botanic gardens existing in country which are carrying out.
You have 3 minutes more, okay?
3 minutes more.
Only 3 minutes.
Chairman has told me you can have 1 hour like that. Yeah, sure.
No,
Sure, you can.
the time allotted to you is 30 minutes. So you have 3 minutes.
Oh my God, sir. You at least have to give me 10 minutes. Okay. Then I will just cut short. I will cut short. So these are some of the important botanic gardens of our country which are existing. And this AGC posted, but of course, there is so much information. I know biodiversity is a very vast, and information is also there. Many things are interrelated. I cannot cut short and tell. And of course, AGC posted Botanic Garden is a very, very important garden. It is the biggest garden in Southeast Asia, founded in 1787 by none other than Colonel Robert Kidd. And the next development was taken place by William Rosberg as well as Valich. They have carried out work and how this looks and how we are carrying activities for conservation of biodiversity in Botanic Garden. You can have a look. And these are the founders of this botanic garden. Of course, this is the superintendent side of the agency post Indian Botanic Garden. The present director is Dr. Karnar Das, who has taken charge 2 months back. And this is the map on the river west bank of River Hooghly. The botanic garden is divided into 25 regions having 24 lakes, which was developed by George King, and a very beautiful landscape for active conservation of these plant elements. And he's George King, who has completely founded this who has completely developed a new this one landscape of this botanic garden. That's why he was given Sir George King the knighthood by the East India Company. And this is, of course, we are having great banyan tree, a rare and rarest of the tree which is existing. The logo of the Panier Sulphate also stands on this great banyan tree, and it is 250 years old. Only one tree, imagine, covering 5 acres of the land, and completely having 4,500 crop roots. Yes, now I'm coming. And these are some of the different areas inside the Botanic Garden, considering many of the different groups of plants. Of course, we are having very rare plant in 18th century. Britishers introduced giant water lily, Victoria amazonica. 2 species are there, Victoria amazonica and Victoria cruciana, and it can very well hold a child of 5 to 6, and a very, very hardy plant and very attractive plant for this Botanic Garden. And we are having even only one tree of our country, again, Rhodesia maldivica. Now, NPPGR people have collected the material from this for tissue culture propagation of this Rhodesia maldivica, native of Seychelles Islands and double coconut, the biggest seed in plant world. And then we are having different trees, branching palm, Hyphena tabaca is there. Then we are having wish tree, the Adelsona digitata. Then we are having candle fruit tree, Permentera celifera of the family, Bignoniaceae, a very rarest of the rare, which is there in garden. We are having American nobilis, of course. And okay, then different visitors visiting Botanic Garden. Harshvardhan has come, and we even attend many of the National Biodiversity Authority meetings. And recently, 2023 meeting I have just attended. And here is Ashyanta Reddy, the chairman of this one, and his secretary Balaji in this one. And we even render many of the services we attend biodiversity congresses and depart whatever the work we just bring to the notice of the people. And even we are happen to co-chair one concept, one national meet of this state biodiversity board, and we completely disseminate this work whatever we are having. And this, of course, you see here, I am showing the revenue generated by this botanic garden. 40,56,000 is the revenue generated by this. This is one way we are generating economy to the government of India. And we conduct different types of programs inside the botanic garden. And for children, they are motivated. Rallies are conducted. Sit and okay. And these are some of the threats also with the people. We completely bring the important trees like Bronia, Vaccina, this Amercia. Even we are having Rasgulla tree. People that come morning walk and they will completely keep chatting and even applying their energy, and sometimes when rain comes, it will completely fall down. So these are some of the threats which are existing, and people will never understand the importance of those. And these are the field visits that we are carrying out. And of course, we take different projects, and very important. Of course, we have seen the lecture of, we have just heard the lecture of Professor R. Rao, how important orchids are. The time is very short, otherwise I would have gone through many of the details. This is Deshmaralda Katkati, a very, very important tiger orchid. Of course, Dendrobium nobile, Epicena amplum, Silogen cristata, and Dendrobium palpebrae, Leon perax, Vanda blue, and Vanda cerulean, and the Thirdsea. So these orchids are very important. I cannot, because paucity of time, I cannot go deep into this. Some of the state. Of course, they show biomimicry of the animation forms, and accordingly they have been nicknamed. You can very have this one. This is Dracula, named itself as Dracula Chestertoni, and then Epicenium amplum, a moth-like this one, green spider, Hebinera oilifolia, Peristeria alata, dove orchid, and then we are having this parrot orchid, Pulpophyllum rochelianum, butterfly orchid, Papilanthenteris, then white ant orchid or turbid orchid, Anaphysis ceratia, bull's head orchid, sparrow orchid, Eria andamanica, laughing orchid, Phalaenopsis parisi, And then we are having the reverse trees, reduce the foxtail orchid, snake-like orchid, Tinophyllum alvisiae. Then we are having this Archicemia, the monkey-like orchid, and then Petunia pedicularis, the bumblebee orchid, and mouse-tail orchid, Brunoniana. Then we are having this medicinal orchids. Of course, this orchid is, of course, not in Indian, but all, at least this is eagle orchid, very beautiful orchid, as though the eagle lifting the chick from its beak and leg, Stenophia vardiae, eagle orchid. So these are some of the aspects which are involved with regard to this biodiversity elements we should know, and if we work only in the field, then we can, and conservation, how these orchids are being conserved in different, this one, and we are selling some of these plants to common public and generating economy to the country. And of course, publications and different publications are there, and these are the then okay. And now areas are developed inside the garden, aromatic garden, which is developed inside the post-Indian botanic garden. And these are the plants, and they're collected in Northeastern, and publications from the botanic garden. Botanic garden are very, very important places from where active the data can be generated. These are recent publications which has been made, invasive plants, all these gymnosperms, grasses of biodiversity garden, then herbaceous plants of this botanic garden, all has been documented. And of course, coming to the next part, cultural diversity, which stands for ethnobotany. Just briefly, I'll just go through some of the tribals which has been conducted, which has been studied in Andaman Nicobar Islands. I will just show the progress and just come back to the conclusion. And of course, this is the history. E.K. Janaki Ammal and S.K. Jain are the backbone for this cultural diversity in ethnobotanical studies in Andaman Nicobar in our country. Only one plant has completely changed the complete life of the Kanya tribals. Pushpanadan's work, you people maybe just heard about this one, Arogya Pata, Pachada Tribus Dynamicus. And of course, these are the important tribes of our country. All India project on ethnobotany is existing, in which 4,798 plants used by tribals has been completely documented. And Andaman Nicobar Islands are very, very important islands where, of course, I cannot go deep because of the paucity of time. There is so much of limitless information is there. They are important from the vegetation point. They are important from ethnobotanical point. They are important from historical point. They are important from trade and commerce point.
Please
Of
go to
course,
the
yes.
sir.
Just one by one, we'll just show the slides.
Just go
And these are very important. Even animals are also very, very unique. And of course, we have completely documented the medicinal plants used by different tribals and even population. Of course, coming to these tribals, we are having two important categories of tribals. We are belonging to two important sects. One is Negrotype sect and another is Mongoloid sect. Of course, in Negrotypes, we are having Great Andamanese, Wongis, Javas, and Sentinels. Of course, Sentinels is still hostile. Even in 2020, they have killed one Alan John Chow, an American missionary who came to just meet them. He was killed, and his body was not retrieved by the Andaman administration. Still, they are hostile. Of course, how they look like, these are the figures of this. This is Sentinelese, Javas, and then Wongis. And these are the instructions while we are entering into the Java. This is the place, this is the cutting which has come under this one here. John Allen Chow was killed, allegedly killed by this Sentinelese. It has become a national news. And Shompens. Mongoloid tribes are, one is Shompens. They have the Great Nicobar Island inhabitants, and they are all dwindling tribes. Of course, only Great Nicobaris are the now developed tribe, whereas other remaining tribes are completely dwindling tribes. Actually, I will say that. And of course, about the Javas also, we have carried much of the work and completely documented all the works, all the plants which are used by Javas, and I will be showing how they look like and how they carry out their activities in the Java reserve area. And these are some of the photographs, autocarpacture glass. Here you see the funny thing. They prepare necklaces of autocarpacture species when the fruits are raw, and they prepare head girdles as well as necklaces. When they ripe, they give the sweet smell, they break and they remove and they eat. Both accommodation as well as the food value in this survey. So these are some of the important slides. So because of the paucity of time, I cannot go deep into these things. And these are some of the decorations. For ornamentation also, they use many of the plants. His Planchonia valida leaves, he has completely decorated with his body, as well as both for medicine as well as a medicine, as decoration. He's using Planchonia for the body ache and for the fever and for the reduction the temperature of the body. Yes, you will cover this one.
Please
Yes, over, sir.
faster.
Over, sir. Over. These are some of the medicinal plants and leaf culture. These are things. And the Segeria elliptica stem, he's preparing bows and bows from this Segeria elliptica. And some of the publications with regard to this, these are some of the publications related to, of course, only hardly 4 or 5 slides. Again, show also, they are just how they look like, what are the plants they use, you are documented and publications has come. Then we are having, these are the plants which are used by them. Yes, I will come to the conclusion now. Yes, advantage of biodiversity conservation. Biodiversity leads to conservation, ecological issues, preserve the food chain. And conservation of biodiversity plays vital role in regulation of chemistry of atmosphere and water supply. Completely agriculture, as water supply is controlling the control of biodiversity, completely the agriculture of the country or any place will be completely in the control of biodiversity conservation. The genetic diversity of plants and animals will be preserved by and it acts as the insurance coverage for the future generation. Otherwise, days will not be far to our younger children which are coming in the future generations. We have to tell there was an animal which is having trunk like very big trunk and pillar like legs, but animal will not be there to show. So that's why conservation of biodiversity is very important. Conclusion: biodiversity is an umbrella term. India, with its number types and ethnic groups, offers ample scope for ecumbrel studies. Some of the hotspots, which there are so much of information it has been conserved, and we have to just document it and completely utilize for bioconstruction and new drug development programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So we heard so many things on biodiversity conservations from you. And regarding you missed one in terms of biodiversity conservation. World Soil Day is also one of the soil days. Yeah, World Soil Day because it is the habitat. Yeah, but it's the hotspot for biodiversity. It's also the 5th of December. So that has to be added. Thank you very much, sir. So next presentation is from the Professor T.R. Sivana. So I'd like to welcome you, sir, for your presentations. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Professor K.R. Shivana has come from the rural modest agricultural family in Karnataka. After completing MSc Botany from University of Mysore, he completed his PhD from Department of Botany, University of Delhi. Later, he joined as a faculty in the same department and worked as a lecturer, reader, and professor, head of the department, and retired in 2002. Soon after his retirement, he returned to Karnataka and served as an honorary fellow of Asoka Trust Research Ecology and Environment Heritage, Bangalore, for about 10 years. Professor Shivana research activities are largely in the areas of pollen biology and biotechnology, converting the diverse areas of pollen viability, storage, and pollination, pollen pistil interaction, sexual incompatibility, and hybridization using biotechnological aspect. His academic and recognitions are so much. He served as a member of the editorial board of several scientific journals. A new plant species was also recorded from competition, has been named after him as recognition his outstanding contribution. He has authored and co-authored many books.
Oh, no, you don't have to read everything, I think. We are already running late.
With this brief introduction, yeah, I request chairman to introduce, sorry, to
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, co-chairman, and my young friends. I think I can call you all young friends because probably I am the oldest participant in the conference. So I'm 85 years old, retired about 25 years back, but I still want to remain active. Now today, I'm going to talk on something which is very relevant at present. That is the global pollinator crisis and its impact on crop productivity and biodiversity. Of course, we have heard in the previous two lectures a lot about biodiversity, particularly the need to sustain and conserve biodiversity. And I am not going to talk too much about that one because it's already been elaborated, but I'll try to cover the other one a bit more. And also, I want to finish in 30 minutes, my lecture. Now, as you know, pollination is just a very simple definition. the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. So when once the pollen grains land on the stigma, pollen grains germinate and the pollen tubes grow through the tissues of the stigma and style and eventually enter the embryo sac and they complete double fertilization. Then the ovule will develop into the seed. So the bottom line is pollination is the prerequisite for fertilization and seed set. In seed plants, if there is no pollination, you don't get any fruit set or seed set. So that is the importance of pollination. Now plants, as you know, they are sedentary and the flower structure is such they can't bring about pollination in most of the plants except a few autogamous plants. So they have to depend on something else to bring about pollination. And these are the main pollinating agents. Animals, that about 90% of the flowering plants depend on the range of animals to bring about pollination. And apart from that one, the wind and water bring about pollination in a small proportion of plants. Now, the major pollinators among animals are the insects, birds, and bats. Amongst these three groups of major pollinators, insects are the ones which carry out pollination in a large number of species. Unless, as I told you earlier, unless there is adequate pollination, even the best variety grown under ideal agronomic conditions will not give optimal yield. So unless you take care of pollination, you can never expect good yield in any seed crop. Now, amongst the insect orders, these are the four groups of insects which contain about 98% of the pollinating insects. These are the Coleoptera, the beetles are the main ones. Diptera, these are flies which contain 26% of insects that bring about pollination. Hymenoptera, they are the most important pollinator. They contain bees, wasps, and ants, and they form almost half of the species pollinated by insects. Then, of course, Lepidoptera. Among birds, mostly both birds as well as bats, they bring about pollination mostly in the tropical and subtropical areas. Amongst birds in the old world, sunbirds and shorebirds are the most important. In the New World, hummingbirds are the important pollinators. And in Australia, honey eaters, and in Hawaii, honey creepers are the pollinators. And in bats, in the New World, they belong to Microchiroptera, and in Old World, they belong to Megachiroptera. Now, bee is the most important pollinator amongst all the insects. In fact, Earthwatch Institute has declared bee as the most important living being on the planet. And the UN, United Nations, has declared May 20th as the Bee Day to acknowledge the role of bees in pollination and other eco-services. So bee is a very important pollinating agent. Apart from crop species, which of course we know how much we depend on crop species, we use about 50,000 wild plant species, whether it is for food, or energy, or materials, medicine, recreation, inspiration, and so on. This is according to IPBS. I will talk about IPBS a few minutes later. Two of the major challenges humanity is facing today are the number one is the need for substantial increase in crop productivity to feed the growing millions. And the second challenge is conservation of our biodiversity. Now, according to the UN report in 2017, the current world population is of 7.8 billion, and it is expected to reach 9.8 billion in 2050 and 11.2 billion in 2100 by the end of this century. When it comes to India, now it is 1.4 billion at present, the population, and is expected to reach 1.7 billion by 2050. So, sustenance of pollination services is the basic requirement to meet both these challenges. Now, since 1980s, earlier, of course, there was no problem of pollination at all. It used to take place effectively under natural conditions. But since 1980s, both managed pollinators means honeybees, which are maintained domesticated, and wild pollinators started facing problems. Their density and diversity has started going down. Now, what are the reasons for this? And these are the series of reasons. Extensive use of pesticides and herbicides in our agriculture systems, habitat loss and degradation, climate change, introduction of alien species, spread of many diseases, and over-exploitation of biological resources beyond their sustainability. And this is because of population increase and human greed for luxurious life. Now, a number of research papers started appearing since 1980s, reporting a decline of pollinators, particularly of insects. Just I'll give you a few examples. There are a number of papers, I can't go into all the details. In Britain and Netherlands, according to one of the papers, bees have decreased by about 30%. And those species which are pollinated by these decreasing insects, there is a parallel decline in the plant pollinated by the declining insects, the decline in the plants. That means the number of plants which were present, they also started going down because the pollinators are declining. And another study reported that almost 25% of the 68 European bumblebee species are threatened with extinction. So there are a number of reports describing the decline of species diversity and density. Now this is a general picture published by International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. They assessed a large number of species, and out of those one, they have identified the number of threatened species. Out of 134,425 species, they have assessed over the years, starting from 2000 up to 2021, they have reported 28% of these species which they have been assessed, they are threatened. So you can see the seriousness of the situation. Now, even in USA, relative abundance of 4 species of bumblebees have declined by up to 96%, and their distributional ranges have reduced by 23 to 87%, some of it within the last 20 years. That means most of this decline has been in recent years. So all these led to a concept that we are going to face global pollinator crisis. So unless we tackle this global pollinator crisis effectively, we are going to face serious problem. Both as far as crop productivity as well as for sustenance or conservation of biodiversity. Now, this global pollinator crisis has turned out to be one of the challenges to sustain crop productivity as well as biodiversity. Now, many national and international programs were initiated to study and remedy pollination crisis. For example, in the United States, they set up a committee to assess the status of pollinators in North America. Similarly, in Europe also they set up STEP, that means status and trends of European pollinators. And another important thing is that this FAO or UNEP and GEP and so on, they initiated global pollination projects to promote coordinated action on monitoring and conserving pollinators. So these are some of them which I have listed here. Now, another important thing that happened in 2012 is the establishment of Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. This is abbreviated as IPBES, and this was established in 2012. Its mandate was to compile scientifically credible and independent up-to-date assessment of available knowledge on pollinators and pollination to make informed decisions at the local, national, and international level. So this has been doing a lot of work concerned with the pollination. Now this IPBES report, there was about half a dozen or more than half a dozen scientists. They studied all these details for about 4 years, and the IPBES report was published in 2016. It was established in 2012, and the report, it confirmed the decline of pollinators wherever it has been studied across the world. It emphasized that the food and nutritional security depends on sustaining and enhancing pollination services. It also highlighted lack of data on wild pollinators and pollination services in many developing countries. This is important. This includes India also. It underlines urgent need for long-term monitoring of pollinators and pollination in these countries to take suitable steps to sustain pollination services. So now pollination crisis is a fact and not just a perception. Now, one of the cartoons I have modified. We are all familiar with origin of species by means of natural selection put forward by Darwin. Now, people are becoming familiar with extinction of species by means of habitat destruction by anthropogenic activities. So thus, humanity is committing an ecological suicide unless they take care of this effectively. Now, in Western countries, the population problem started much earlier, not because of pollinator decline, but because of their monoculture cropping system. Monoculture cropping system means the same crop is started being grown in hundreds of acres. For example, this is one of the photographs of sunflower, and that is brassica. You can see as long as you see hundreds of acres or hectares, it is only one crop. When it starts flowering, there are no natural vegetation around. Where will the insects come? Because it requires millions and millions of insects for pollination. So there are absolutely no way of getting enough number of insects. So to overcome this problem, what this did was, because most of the crops were pollinated by honeybees, so they started keeping these honeybee colonies in the field during the flowering season. So you rent honeybee colonies from beekeepers and keep them in these fields during flowering, and afterwards, of course, they will take. So beekeepers, they used to, their income from renting the honeybee colonies for pollination services was much more than they get from honey. So they used to use honeybee colonies as mobile pollination unit. So they used to carry in huge trucks the honeybees wherever crop they are required. Yeah, this I have already told you. Now, this use of managed honeybees, managed pollinators, that is honeybees, for pollination has grown into one of the very well organized multi-billion dollar industry. So the farmers sign contract with beekeepers to rent honeybee colonies to maintain them in their crop field during the flowering season. Now, this is almond is one of the very important crops which needs these rented honeybees. Almond is mainly grown in California. In fact, California produces 80% of the world's almond production. So there, this flowers in February, and during February season, about 20% of the honeybee colonies present in USA, they need it. So all honeybee colonies from USA, whether it is eastern part or middle east part of USA, they all move into California in these huge honeybee trucks, and they keep those the almond, almond trees, and the bees will take care of pollination. So like this one, there are so many crops. So beekeepers in February, as long as the flowering is there, they keep in normal fields. Then they go to the next crop, which started flowering and so on. So in USA alone, about 2.5 million colonies of honeybees are rented every year for pollination services. As I told you, this is their main income, these beekeepers. Almond, apple, pear, clover, cucurbits, canola, and so on. These are some of the major crops which require honeybee colonies for pollination. Now, even now, extensive research, because in Western countries, these entomologists are very perceptive. Whenever the farmers are having problem, then they will try to overcome their problem by coming up with suitable research. So bee vaccine is being tested to protect honeybees from microbial diseases. Experimental samples are being marketed. Already they have started marketing this bee vaccine. Recently, they have been able to engineer symbiotic gut bacteria of bees to improve bee survival after viral challenge and also kill parasitic varroa mites, which is one of the very important problems in honeybees. And in fact, apart from that one, many companies are developing pollination robots. It is one of the very important fields, active fields, which is going on. Now, these are some of the photographs. This is a robotic bee. This has been developed in Japan. Those are drones. That is in some USA. Now the drones have developed that robotic bees. This is a six-handed robotic bee. They call it stick bug. And this is a very active field and it is being used practically. So I have written one of my vertical forms and pollination robots were published last week in the proceedings of the Indian National Science Academy. Those who are interested, they can get more information. Now I just come to Indian zero. See, I explained in Western countries how responsible these scientists are to take care of the problems faced by the farmers. Now in India, Green Revolution helped alleviate hunger, but brought with it an increasing dependency on cereals. This led to hidden hunger caused by deficiencies in proteins, micronutrients, and essential vitamins in our staple diet. Because effective nutrition needs more pulses, oils, fruits, and vegetables, whereas we don't produce enough oils, pulses, and so on. 20 million tons of pulses are required, out of which we import 4 million tons. We also import 60% of our edible oil and so on. Now, coming to pollination, do we have a pollinator problem in our croplands? Absolutely, we have no idea. There is so much of work going on in Western countries. Now, why so? Agriculture scientists are not bothered at all about this one. pollination problem. Now, when I inquired in agriculture university, some of my friends, now pollination is not being taught in agriculture universities, whether it is postgraduate level or graduate level. Now they don't know anything about pollination. Now ICAR has launched a major research initiative to make agriculture climate resilient. Now under this climate resilient agriculture program, a number of research components have been identified, but sustenance of pollination is not one of them. Now, one of the recommendations of Agriculture Science Congress, which was held in October 2023, that India diets, which are predominantly cereal-based, should diversify to include more pulses, fruits, vegetables, and so on. Most of them are insect pollinated. We don't know whether their pollination deficiency is there or not. Now, they have come up with excellent climate resilient varieties. They may come up with excellent climate resilient varieties after research, but they would be useless in the absence of effective pollinator. Now, this is the tragedy with our agriculture scientists. They seem to have totally ignored pollination ecology. They don't even know whether any of our crop there is pollinator deficient. Now, the only crop which they keep honeybees for pollination is this apple. In Himachal Pradesh, they routinely follow this method. This is again largely due to the efforts of the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, which is located in Kathmandu. Now, our studies, there is large cardamom, Amomo subulata, which is a very important cash crop in Northeast. Now, until 2005, they didn't even know which is the pollinator. And after my retirement, I got a research project. When we studied, because we showed that bumblebee is the pollinator for the first time, and only 30% of the flowers develop into fruits because pollination deficiency is there, because of the density of bumblebees was very low. And subsequently, in 2016, another paper was published on some of the vegetable crops. What they have compared is the fruit set in the control and also where you keep honeybee colonies. You can see by keeping honeybee colonies, the yield was increased by 28% in brinjal, 38% in pointed gourd, trichosanthes, and 43% in pumpkin. So just by simple keeping the honeybee colonies, you can increase the yield because there was a deficiency of pollination. Now, of course, we do hand pollination because we don't have pollinator in our country for vanilla, but it's a very profitable crop. And in South India, quite a bit of this vanilla is being grown. Now, another one is Gloriosa superba, glory lily. Now, the seeds of this one have become very important because they are of medicinal value to treat cancer-related diseases and arthritis and gout and so on. Tamil Nadu people have picked it up and they are the major producers of this Gloriosa superba, and they grow that in about 6,000 acres. Here under natural condition, pollination is very poor. So they have to do manual pollination. You can see the labor has been trained and she is doing pollination. This is a routine practice in Tamil Nadu.
Would you please summarize it within
I'm
5
finishing.
minutes?
So I finished this lecture with this one. All Western countries, they know there is global pollinating crisis. I am using these three monkeys cartoon. Our Indian agriculture scientists, they don't want to see it. They don't want to hear about pollination crisis, and they don't want to talk about pollination crisis. So if this trend continues, India may not be able to solve hunger and malnutrition in the coming years. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a very enlightening presentations. We learned a lot from you. So, on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank you very much, sir. The next presentation is from. So, tea break? Okay. For 10 minutes we have tea break. Then after that we'll resume another keynote presentations. Okay, thank you very much.
Alapan, Dr. B.K. Chakravarti, you know, Bangladesh, you know, he's yesterday, we certificate issue and this. They invite B.K. Chakravarti. Oh, okay. How come? So this is the Global Distinguished Fisheries Scientist Award, um, awarded by the Agriculture Technology Development Society to Dr. B.K. Chakravarti for his outstanding contributions in aquaculture and fisheries. Double back in immediate of 10 minutes. We don't have much time, so I have to complete all the presentations by 4. by Dr. Vasant Kumar. Dr. Vasant Kumar is his own company, the Krishi Jnana Vignana also has been involved with. So his detailed biodata will be read out later. And the session will be chaired by Dr. M.U. Sharif and Joint Director of Botanical Survey of India. Then Professor Nalini, Professor Department of Botany, Mysore University. So they will take care of the session. Okay, I'll hand over to my professor.
Good afternoon. Now continuing the session, we are having a very and then he's having personal science communicator also, and he is a native of Mysore. And little brief about I'll just bring you to your notice. He is a multifaceted visionary, I can well say. Dr. Vasant Kumar is a distinguished figure in the agricultural sector. He is known for his multifaceted contributions as a farmer, teacher, researcher, social entrepreneur, and social worker. Hailing from a farming family, he has seamlessly blended his practical knowledge with academic excellence to drive significant advancements in crop improvement and plant pathology. Of course, this will be a very interesting lecture, be related to little bit different from conservation of biodiversity, but in another angle, it is very much helpful for the economic development of our country and related to biodiversity. So, with this background, I welcome Dr. Vasant Kumar to just carry on his journey of this research in the field of green life model. And I welcome Dr. Vasant Kumar for this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Chairman, Co-Chairman, and distinguished scientists, delegates, and my dear students, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege today to present my journey in front of stalwarts like Dr. Shivanna, Dr. Raghavendra Rao, Dr. Vasudev Murthy, Dr. Sanjappa, and so many other senior botanists and dignitaries are there. And first of all, let me thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. And as our chairman put it, I am going to tell my own journey. It is totally different, but it is important to secure our food and nutrition supply. So I am going to give you how an individual with a scientific background can help the farming community to help their welfare. I call it as translational research. It is our own model. I have not copied anybody's this. So as you know, food is the first and the most basic need. And food is not just a thing to eat, but for a country, it can be a weapon. It can be strength. It is peace. It is freedom and sovereignty. And peace prevails only food suffices. And this food is not produced in factories, but they are produced in farms and they are produced by farmers. So no farmer means no food and no future. So India is a very agrarian country from the beginning and even now. And suppose we run short of food in our country, no other country can actually feed us. So actually India has got the power to feed all other countries, provided we maintain the productivity. So this is the situation between Green Revolution and after Green Revolution. From 50 million metric tons, in terms of 50 to 55 years, we have jumped more than 6 times. Growth is there in terms of the production. And Green Revolution happened and we I have been very happy. Genetics, nutrition, and water, these are the major factors which played in green revolution. And there is quantum jump in yields of our most of our crops. And it is not just green revolution, we can call it as rainbow revolution. Our animal university registrar is here. So even in meat production, egg production, milk production, we have been able to reach very high production. And it's a rainbow revolution because you can see all the colors of the rainbow here, not only in the supermarkets, but even on the streets, we can see this kind of availability of varieties of food. And it is able to feed more than 140 million people population of our country. So we have reached from food scarcity to food security, and government has been able to bring in food security bill and the right to food. So, but when these farmers are able to feed 140 and more millions of people, they are in big distress, and there is increased farmer suicides as per the IB report, and he is in deep stresses. So when we see the causes of these distress or dismal situation, normally we list out weather vagaries, biotic and diabetic stresses, increased cost of cultivation, diversion of loan amount, volatile prices, middlemen, and money lenders. So, but the most important ignored aspect is that the farmers lack the knowledge of scientific cultivation. As agricultural scientists have ignored the role of pollinators, they have also, the policy makers have ignored the fact that knowledge of scientific cultivation is very, very important to maintain the productivity. And they also lack the financial literacy because they don't know how to earn money, save money, invest money, and you know. So modern agriculture is actually knowledge intensive and also investment intensive. And because of this lack of knowledge, it is resulting in reduced productivity, diminished profitability, and it leads to lowest repaying capacity to the banks and their default and debts, and they get into the vicious cycle of loan and debts. So the production wise, we are very fine because we are number in many crops and animal products, but productivity wise, we are much less than the all world average, and we are nowhere near to US and China compared to in case of productivity. So our population is increasing. We are already in the number one position. We continue to be in number one position, and we will shortly reach 150 million population. Sorry, 1.5 billion population. And the challenge in front of us is to produce more from less land, less water, less labor, less chemicals, and less costs. So, what are the possibilities of increasing the food production? One is increased land area, that is ruled out because actually land is shrinking. Increased yield due to by way of genetics that has already reached the plateau, and dramatic increase is not possible anymore. So, but there are other two options left to us that reduce the losses due to biotic and abiotic stresses and harnessing the power of nutrition and physiology. This is where much knowledge is required. So crop losses due to pests is more than 35% of our crops are being lost to pests and diseases. And who are our crop doctors to our farmers? There are no actually plant doctors available to them on a daily basis. So our seed, fertilizer, and pesticide dealers have become the doctors to them. And the missing farmers' right is that right to scientific agricultural knowledge. And our farmers are actually demanding for scientific pricing, loan waivers and subsidies, crop loss compensation, etc., etc., etc. But they have never, no leader has asked for the right to scientific cultivation knowledge. So this is the missing, they ignore this root cause. So why translation and research? In Indian agriculture, there is a painful irony. We generate enormous scientific knowledge, but only a fraction reaches the farmer. As a result, the farmer fights biological problems with incomplete tools. I wanted to change this. My focus was simple. Research should solve real on-ground problems. So I am from the University of Mysore. I am the alumnus of Department of Botany here, and I was also a faculty in the Department of Biotechnology. But I quit that to learn the science of and went into seed industry. I joined Pioneer Seeds, which is the world's first hybrid seed company, and I served there for nearly 15 years, learned the science of agriculture. And while working there and while traveling and attending conferences, I happened to meet I was very fortunate to meet and listen to the speech of Dr. Norman Borlaug, who is the father of Green Revolution. And I was so inspired that I decided to quit my lucrative job in the corporate. And then I came back to Mysore and started my own this thing, because he is a great man who saved the billion lives and who fed the world. He's basically a pathologist like me. And then he turned reader and he became an extension scientist, and he's a great humanist. This inspired me, and I wanted to become a plant doctor from plant pathologist. I was working as a plant pathologist in seed industry. Then I wanted to become plant doctor and work closely with the farmers right on the field. So the birth of the Green Life model, after leaving a comfortable corporate job, I dedicated myself to field level science. I realized that every farmer's field is a living laboratory. Problems are real, immediate, and unforgiving. The Green Life model emerged as a bridge between science and society, built on 3 pillars. So we are into research and innovation, that is one vertical. Another is the extension, giving information to the farmers, and also giving microfinance. So all the critical inputs in our area were given on credit without any interest or without any collateral. So we developed 2 flagship technologies, that is Phyton Tea, a breakthrough in wilt and root rot and root health and restoration. And also it's a biostimulant which increases the yield like anything. And Power Plus, the world's first practical farmer usable antiviral solution for crops like papaya, tomato, capsicum, banana, and even cassava mosaic virus in cassava. These were not theoretical innovations. They were born from farmers suffering and tested under harsh field conditions. Our experiments were not conducted in controlled environments. They happened in right-fed fields, disease hotspots, smallholder farms, villages with recurring losses. We didn't choose easy locations. We chose the most challenging ones. Social innovation, microfinance of critical inputs. We introduced a novel model, interest-free microfinancing of crop inputs at the time of need. No collateral, no paperwork, no interest, just trust and technology plus guidance. This enabled even the poorest farmer to adopt the best solutions at the right time. This model empowered nearly 5,000 plus farmers across multiple villages with dramatic improvement in income, stability, and confidence. I was appreciated internationally even by Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus. Unfortunately, he is a controversial person today, but I am happy that as a Nobel laureate, he visited my humble laboratory to look at my microfinance as an economist. So one of the finest example is the floral revolution in chrysanthemum. What was once a loss-making crop became a prosperous local economy through scientific cultivation, disease-free planting, balanced nutrition, use of our products like Phyton Tea and Power Plus, continuous extension support, and microfinance. The farmers built new homes, educated their children, and expanded cultivation. This is translational research creating roaring rural economies. So that is the theory part. I am going to show you the practical part. So I returned to my roots, to my villages. So we started a free clinic for farmers. Even now I run this free clinic. So I wanted to convert Mysore district to California of Karnataka. So we give free WhatsApp solution to the farmers. And this is my laboratory where farmers regularly visit and get training and advices. And this is how farmers come with their crops and specimens and get free advice. So we work mostly on the roots, leaf, and chlorophyll and the physiology of the plant. So you know the root is the most ignored organ of the plant, just like pollinators. So many of us don't see the root, so we ignore it, and it struggles a lot to feed the plant. So any problem to the root, it affects the growth and the productivity of the plant. So the product was Phyton-T, which increases more root means more fruit, more leaf means more life, and more green means more chlorophyll means more grain. So you can see this. So the root system, we from the nursery itself, we want to help the seedling to grow deeper roots. See the treated and untreated. Of course, this is tobacco. I will show you why and this is the untreated, the left and the right is the treated one. You can see the initial growth and see the difference between treated and untreated. This is an untreated plot and the treated plot. So almost double the yield we could achieve just by spraying twice of our product, and the cost of per acre is only 1,000 rupees, which increases incremental income of 50,000 rupees to the farmer. And you can clearly see the difference between untreated and treated. So it is not a research plot in a small plot. It is a acres wise plot. We have shown this, and look at the root system and see the uniform crop stand, and which gives rise to highest yield and highest quality. Look at this enormous crop and the best quality tobacco, because this is the main cash crop of Mysore district. Though I didn't like this crop, I was forced to work on this to help my own farmers first, because charity begins at home. But when okay, so we created this win-win situation for everyone, and we treat the farmers as our producer partner. So we don't treat them as our the customer or purchaser. So because of this revolution, so we could reduce the area under tobacco. So we wanted extra land for other crop cultivation, especially vegetables. So Professor Manohar Achari has visited our laboratory and fields many times. Unfortunately, he left. He would have been happy to be here. And many visitors have visited our laboratory, including Professor Muhammad Yunus. I'm happy that our work could attract the attention of a Nobel laureate in economics. So that is a great achievement of ours. And but he didn't like that I was working on the crop like tobacco. But then he gave me a challenge. So we went to a new area, selected a new crop to show that the model works in any other crop. New challenges and new solutions. And we went into a village. So the technology and training turned a failed village into a floral academy. That is the journey. So this is where the backwater of KRS Dam, and see the village there, a dry village. Only you can see the empty fields and the poor conditions of the farmers, very resource poor farmers, land resources poor, water resource, and knowledge resource, financial resource, human resource. In every sense, they were real poor farmers, and nobody cared to go to them and help them. So we identified this village, we went there and took up our project. So they were growing only single monocrop chrysanthemum. Because of continuous cultivation, the root rots and weeds had become a serious problem there, and the crop stand was never uniform. And how can they expect best results from this kind of fields? So here, see, they didn't know how to apply fertilizers and what kind of fertilizers, everything. See, the yield is hardly, you can count the number of flowers per plant. So maybe hardly maximum 50 flowers per plant. See, backwater is there, but what was the only constraint? But see, even with sufficient water, the yield is minimum. And when we went there, we studied the whole situation holistically and completely. And we first observed these kind of insects. There were many kind of insects because, of course, yellow flowers attract all kinds of insects, including bees. And then root rots. Root rot was a nightmare for them. And leaf spots, and then rust, and even mosquito was a major problem there. And virus and phytoplasma, which doesn't have any control. But still, out of desperation, they were spraying all kinds of pesticides, only increasing their cost of production without any results, and their income was very minimum. This used to be the weekly harvest per household, and nobody was ready to give any loan to them. So, of course, there were no suicides due to deaths in those villages. So when then we entered into that village, we took the trust of the farmers there, and they agreed to follow our advices and guidance and use our technologies. So we brought in so many technologies, including the non-chemical methods of insect control like pheromone traps, sticky traps, etc. And we introduced Power Plus, which is the world's first patented antiviral product, which is basically a biostimulant. You can clearly see how the virus affected plants are recovering from the infection. See, we conducted a lot of training programs both on the field as well as indoor training programs. As a result, you see the uniform crop stand, excellent yield. See, you can count the number of stars, but not the number of buds or flowers here. So this is the potential of the variety, what they were growing. This is the potential of the crop, what they were growing. We didn't change the land, we didn't change the crop, we didn't change the variety, but we gave the right knowledge created by universities, institutes, and scientists like you. So it was not reaching the farmer. So we only took them along with our own technology to the farmer and helped them. And this is the kind of revolution happened, and it created so much of employment, especially for women. So generated additional employment opportunities for women empowerment, and we caused the reverse migration of youths who had gone for menial jobs into nearby cities. They all returned and they became employers, at least minimum 10 employees they could employ every day for harvesting and dyeing. And we brought the smiles on the faces of these farmers. And this particular farmer, he says his annual income is now 50 lakh rupees. He also does the flower trading. And earlier it never touched 1 lakh rupees. Now they are talking in 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, up to 50 lakhs per annum. See, how was the village before? And the top left, so it was a dry place, and now it has turned green, and you can see how the village has transformed from 2011 to 25, and how the houses, number of houses, modern houses has increased, and see how the face of the village is changing with new houses. This is the proof of socio-economic development in those villages. So the broken house versus the multi-storied houses. So this is the proof. These are the proof. And better education and healthcare for this thing. And this became a national news. So plant doctor brings in floral revolution. So that gives us so much of satisfaction, because I wanted to be a plant doctor because I was only a plant pathologist in the seed industry or in the university. I became a practical plant doctor. I went to farmers and brought in this kind of revolution. We brought economic benefit, employment benefit, environmental benefit, emotional benefit, and empowerment of people. And we also came out with a new concept of LCD, that is local crop doctor, because we could not go every day to the village, nor farmers could come to our laboratory every day. So we identified an unemployed youth in the village, we brought him, we employed him, we trained him, and sent back to his village to be the doctor to their the farmers. So this is the guy, farmer's friend and troubleshooter, and always through WhatsApp, he could always communicate regularly with us, and we could give any doubts we had in the field. So he has been very happy, farmers are happy, and he is happy. And we also helped him to set up a shop of fertilizers and pesticides, and he became an entrepreneur. And see, he has become a very successful entrepreneur. Every year he goes to Singapore or Malaysia or the Philippines, and he has become a very successful entrepreneur. This is a live example how your science and technology, if it reaches properly to the farmer, what kind of transformation it can cause it. So this is about our revolutionary solution to virus diseases. So you know that there are plenty of $60 billion worth crops are being lost due to viruses, and more than 50% of the newly emerging diseases are going to be virus diseases. when we don't have any solution to the existing virus diseases itself, and imagine what will be the future. Like bee population is declining, on another side, root rots are increasing, viral diseases are increasing, and how can we maintain and sustain the productivity and production of our food and other crops? So, plant pests cause huge irreversible damage in crops. Once crop is infected, uproot and burn or bury was the only option for farmers, leading to huge economic loss and distress. Existing methods only prevent spread to some extent, but cannot cure infected plants. Only preventive methods are available. India loses nearly 50,000 rupees a crore worth crops due to virus diseases, and we have fungicides for fungi, antibiotics for bacteria, nematicides for nematodes, insecticides for insects, and rodenticides for rodents. But there are no viruses except fake products in the market. Okay, so papaya, we took a challenging crop, that is papaya, because it's a long-term crop. Up to 2 years we have to maintain without virus infection in the open field. It's a challenge. Whereas in the case of vegetables, it is hardly 3 to 5 months. Maintaining and getting some economic yield is not a challenge at all, in my opinion. But maintaining crop up to 2 years without infection in the open field, having virus plants next to them is a big challenge. So we have proved that it is possible. Papaya ring spot is the most destructive, and it's the papaya is a very healthy fruit for everyone. Even diabetics can eat it, and we have medicinal value. Where dengue medicine can be prepared from papaya, and papaya enzyme can be extracted from papaya. And we are the #1 producer in the world. We have to maintain that, and we need more and more papaya for everyday consumption. So this is the Power Plus. It's a biostimulant, basically non-toxic, systemic, compatible, economical, eco-friendly, and it's a probiotic. It doesn't kill anything, including virus, because virus cannot be killed. But it's a system of resistance power. Virus cannot be killed, but it can be defeated. We'll show you how it can be defeated. See here, treated and untreated, total day and night difference, black and white difference. So absolutely zero yield on untreated plants, just next to the treated plants, and the healthy plants, treated plants are full of fruits, and it is 0 to 100. It is not 10% increase or 20%, 30%. No, it is 100% difference. So up to in the background, you can see up to 2 years we have maintained health of the crop and productivity of the crop. So full of yield. So this row, untreated row, serves both as untreated control as well as the focus of infection. So in farmer's field, on your left you see before treatment, and the farmer was about to remove and go for some other crop. So then we gave our product, he treated. After 2 months, there was no sign of virus infection at all. See the fruits below, before treatment and after treatment. And see, in papaya, only in America and China, they have genetically modified GM papaya. Okay, and this was developed by Dr. Dennis Gonzalez of Cornell University. So he is showing the difference between non-GMO and GMO papaya. The same kind of difference we have shown with the treatment of our product. And there is one product by Syngenta called ActiGuard. It was released as for virus control, but it has been withdrawn. So when you compare to GM papaya and ActiGuard, we have got all the plus points compared to those technologies. It has been published in Krishi Vijnana of Agriculture University. Of course, we have not published any research papers because we are a private company. We don't want to give our
5 minutes.
oh yes, 5 minutes enough. Okay, so even international media has published our news. We never sent any news to them, but it became a very big news. And these are the news, international media. One is International Tropical Fruit Network, and this is Fresh Plaza. And we also got the patent this year. This April we got the patent. We are very happy. And we didn't want to go for, when the scientists like you saw the results on their own eyes, they insisted that I should get the patent. So we got it, and it is peer reviewed by many scientists, including agriculture university, horticulture university, private industry, Professor Mahadevappa is there, Professor Shekhar Shetty is there, and then Dr. Ayyappan is there, Professor Niranjan is there, and even our Professor Manoharacharya visited not only our demo plot but also the farmers field, and he could interact with the farmers, farmer himself, and get to know the first-hand information. And it is not just only for papaya. It has got a very broad host range. And like tomato, leaf curl is the major problem. It is working on tomato. It's a DNA virus. It's not a RNA virus. This is a spotted wilt virus. It is working and the plant is recovering. Of course, we have shown that how our technology worked in chrysanthemum. And then we brought in that revolution because of we could able to control both soil-borne diseases, foliar diseases, as well as virus diseases. So cucumbers, it works fantastic. All cucurbits, any virus, it works fantastic. This is after the treatment. Before treatment, it was like this, and after the treatment, entire population recovered in the greenhouse in Delhi, and it works on